social welfare. Let's all give her. She's currently an independent consultant and writer on issues regarding child trafficking and sexual exploitation. And she herself is a survivor of human trafficking and exploitation and believes in the freedom of the human spirit, and her life and work are clear testimony to that. So here today to talk to us about the prevalence of rape around us, please welcome Robin Rivera. Give me applause.
Oh, you can hear me. All right. Good. It's not too sensitive. Give me 1 second while I set up my ghetto PowerPoint. All right. Good afternoon, Berkeley. And a special shout out to our student parents who are juggling raising a family and academic rigor. You all are rock stars, and you know it. Whew. So we're here talking about the prevalence of rape and violence against women. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you look around you, rape and sexual violence is all around us. It happens here at UC Berkeley on campus, down the street on International Boulevard in Oakland. Children and women are being bought and sold day and night. They're on the internet being sold. There's young women in the United States are being forced into marriages, and the very first night that they spend with their husband, they're forced to have sex with them. I don't know, but that sounds like rape to me. Sexual violence and torture is occurring in the porn industry, strip clubs, brothels, bachelor parties, and in the hotel rooms when you go on fancy vacations. So when talking about this, we have to talk about the supply, distribution, and demand side. The demand for commercial sex is directly responsible for human trafficking in the United States, and without exception includes the high and increasing demand for children. So we have to think about what is our personal contribution to the demand for commercial sex, and what ways are we supporting it by default. And I'm not talking about just you, myself included. For example, I recently had to stop listening to 94.9. I had to take it off of my favorite stations on my radio in my car because 80% of the music was glorifying stripping, prostitution, trafficking, pimping. And I have my daughter sitting in the back seat. So, and not only that, I mean, deeper, more uncomfortable things to talk about. Is it okay to watch porn? Am I contributing to the demand for children by just watching a free porn site? And the answer is yes, because even clicking on that, it's creating traffic, which makes the company more marketable for advertisers to post on their site. So I had to check myself. In what ways am I contributing still to the demand for commercial sex? I want to talk to you today about two things. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, but my message is twofold. Number one, I want to ask you to get curious about where you stand about the commercial sex business. How do you really feel about strippers? How do you really feel about human trafficking? Do you see the overlapping? And my second point is to tell you my secret of how to find self-empowerment. So, I grew up with a troubled childhood. CPS was involved. I began to run away, and by the age of 15, I was gang raped and human trafficked by older men. When the police found me, by the assistance of my parents, who despite their dysfunction still really loved me and they fought for me, I was hauled off to a boarding school, a behavior modification school in Ensenada, Mexico, where unfortunately I was brainwashed and abused for 13 months. When I left there, I was 17 years old, living on my own back in the United States, and my problems were just piling up. I had no life skills. The only skills I had were survival. and street skills. Not to mention the developmental trauma that I had already been experienced and exposed to was amplifying. I didn't have the tools to deal with my emotional up and downs, my emotional irregularities, dysregulation. So as this web of dysfunction was growing upon me, I began to become emotionally and financially desperate. And that's when I began being sexually exploited as an adult in the commercial sex industry. There I experienced probably the lowest and darkest of times, probably the lowest and darkest experiences that a young girl can have. And it wasn't until I was 23 years old that I was able to escape a very dangerous situation in LA with very dangerous people. I literally ran away barefoot from a Hollywood mansion. Oh no, sorry, Beverly Hills mansion. And if it weren't for the kindnesses of some few people and the fact that I found myself pregnant, I wouldn't have made it. I would have been dead for sure. You can count on that. So I came back up here to the Bay Area to seek refuge, and I began my healing journey. And it has not been easy. Now when I talk about my story and my experiences in the commercial sex business, we're not talking about a matter of choice, people. We're talking about economic slavery, sexism, and the exploitation of vulnerable populations. No woman decides to sell her flesh. They don't make that decision. And if they do, the very few that might feel that way, number one, they might become from privilege. They might be choosing from a platter. Okay? Number two, they might be, what most of us are, subjected to cognitive dissonance. So if anybody has studied psychology, then you're probably familiar with the human phenomenon of cognitive dissonance. And that's where us as human beings, we want our actions, our beliefs, and our thoughts to be in alignment. And when they're not, we get really out of sorts, and it exhausts our mental resources, and we do everything we can to put those back in line. So that's what happens with women who are trafficked. Even if they feel that they have made the choice, even if they haven't gotten there through force, fraud, or coercion, they end up being a victim of cognitive dissonance. Meaning that after so many times of doing something that is not in alignment with the way that they've grown up, not in alignment with their childhood dreams, they have to force themselves to say, yes, I like this, so that they can continue doing what they're doing. And I have to tell you, when I found out that I was pregnant, I was not fit to be a mother by any stretch of the imagination, but I was not going to let anyone take that baby away from me. So I did whatever it took to heal and to learn what it meant to me to be a good woman and to give this daughter a good life that I knew nothing of. So I exhausted my resources. I reached out to crisis clinics, counseling, welfare, anything that I could get my hands on, I was going to exhaust it. That's the one thing that I was able to really utilize from my past with my street skills. I'm a hustler. I will figure out what I need to do, and I will do it the best and the hardest and the fastest. And that really translated into my college experience. I got here with learning disabilities, tons of trauma, and I had one teacher tell me that anybody could be a straight A student. You might just have to do the homework 3 or 4 times. And I was like, oh, right. And then when scholarships started coming into the picture, it put money in front of my face. Okay, I'm going to work even harder. I won 35 awards and scholarships on top of a full. While I was here at Cal, I got to visit 4 countries in 2 years. And now my life consists of trying to create and build a career that is really in alignment with things that set my heart on fire. And I have to say that when I wake up in the morning, I have this burning excitement of like, oh my God, I'm alive, I made it. I made it. And it makes me, I just think I want to get up, I want to surf, I want to travel, I want to help people. There's so many things I didn't get to do as a kid that I'm just dying to do. And it's kind of like this, I want to go stand on the top of a mountain and scream that love and freedom and the experience of joy is my birthright. And I didn't know that before. I just didn't know that. So, my second message to you is that I dare you all to stand on the edge of who you think you are. To stand on the edge of what you think you're capable of and jump into the world of the unknown, because that's where the magic happens. That's where you find out what you're capable of. I've had, statistically, I should be living in poverty, single mother, head of household from a Mexican-American family. I should be a child abuser according to social welfare statistics, or I should be relapsed back into my old life. So every day I have to be the warrior of my own life, not just for me, but for the life of my daughter and my future children. Yeah. So I'm asking you to be the warrior of your life. I'm asking you to check yourself and see in what ways are you contributing to this epidemic of violence against women that is so deeply rooted in our culture. And dare to be great. Thank you. Thank you. And next, I would like to introduce my dear friend, one of my soul sisters of 11 years. We've seen some dark times together, probably even fought once, I'm sorry. Chantel, and she's a beautiful mother, wife, mother of 4, and a warrior of her life. So everyone give a warm welcome to Chantel. Keep it going.
Hi guys, my name is Chantel and I'm a survivor of domestic violence and sexual assault. First off, I want to start off by saying how grateful I am to be here, to be alive in front of you guys today. I'm going to be talking about, a little bit of facts to share with you guys, and then some of my experience.
You're shaking.
Bear with me, I'm kind of nervous. I want to let you guys know, that there is hope, and there is help out there if you reach out for it. I want to thank everybody that participated today. If you participated today, you're in the solution, so thank you.
Yeah!
Okay, there is an average of 293,066 victims of rape and sexual assault. Most of, domestic violence, it happens between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. And a lot of the times, the domestic violence happens with your own, spouse or partner, and it happens at home. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys a little bit of, that experience that I went through. So domestic violence is a behavior used to establish, power and control over somebody. They can make you feel isolated from people, places, and things, and make you feel, very vulnerable. And it can happen to anyone.